for melodic heavy metal. Playing it heavier, louder, raunchier, faster. This is the Signals of Intuition.
There's brand new Soulbender right there from their brand new album Soulbender 2, featuring Michael Wilton of Queensryche on guitar with the track Turn Anger Up. You're listening to the Signals of Intuition, your home for melodic hard rock and heavy metal. Tonight on the show, we have the guitar player of that band, Mr. Michael Wilton, who you know is the guitar player of Queensryche for the last 30 years. He is going to be promoting the new Soulbender album, so let's get him on the line right now. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Hey, Brandon, how are you doing?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yep, sounds great on your end.
Okay, cool.
You using like a pro microphone or something?
It's my old school Logitech headset that goes to Skype.
Oh, that's awesome. Sounds great.
Okay, thanks.
So I know we don't have much time, so do you mind if we dive right in?
Go right ahead, my friend.
Excellent. Okay. So I guess let's start sort of at the beginning of your career and then work our way up to the new Soulbender and what you've got going on now. What are some of your earliest musical influences growing up, and what influenced you to pick up the guitar?
Well, as a young lad in my formative years of music, I had a vast collection of all types of music from my father. And I used to listen to all types of music: rock, jazz, blues, classical. So as a young kid, I was intrigued by album covers. And I used to just listen to music and stare at the album covers. And then eventually, I kind of started visualizing me as either a bass player or a guitar player. And then in junior high school, I took up the bass guitar, started playing in some garage bands, and then the guitar player wasn't up to snuff, so I knew I could play the guitar parts better for our garage band, so I eventually switched to guitar. And then as I started learning the guitar, I mainly listened to the Beatles just for melody and songwriting. And then it was Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Ritchie Blackmore, Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, and even Andre Segovia. So those were kind of my things that I was listening to because that's what I had around at that time.
Right. Do you play any other instruments?
I can play the bass a little bit. I can stumble around that. But guitar, that's about it.
I read somewhere you have some training on piano. Is that true, or?
Oh yeah, very basic, but I don't practice it enough or play it enough to, warrant being a piano player.
Right. And then, so after that, from what I understand, you went to like music university or whatever to study for a couple of years?
Yes, in Seattle, Washington, there's a accredited college called the Cornish Institute of Allied Arts. And there I learned a vast array of musical choices. So jazz composition, classical guitar, piano, like you said, gamelan music, which is music from Tibet. And just, it was a big awakening into music theory.
And then how now does Queensryche come together as a band from your sort of musical education and background playing in garage bands?
Well, basically, I kind of ran out of money going to the college, and I hooked up with those guys at a party. And we just all had the mutual interest and kind of liked what was happening in the metal area that we were getting in Seattle from Europe and England. So we just kind of hit it off there, and that's kind of the beginnings of Queensryche.
What sorts of songs were you guys covering in the early days? I think I read somewhere that you guys did like Animal Magnetism from the Scorpions and Dio Era Sabbath and that kind of stuff?
Well, the main thing was, we wanted to be kind of like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, two-guitar band. And so we learned a lot of that. I remember when the first Iron Maiden record with the crazy Eddie Monster on it, we just went, wow, this is too cool. And we just became big fans of Iron Maiden. But we played, songs from, a lot of Accept, Crocus, Tigers of Pantang. I mean, all kinds of stuff that was coming out of there, plus Rainbow, Sabbath, all that stuff. So it was very much a lot of fun at that time.
Right. I'd love, to spend just hours picking your brain on all these older Queensryche records and all that kind of thing. I know we don't have much time, so I'll just kind of pick out one era. What can you tell me about the early 90s? Like, I know you guys had a massive hit with Empire and were nominated for Grammys and all that. How did your own life change as a result of this newfound fame at the time, and what sort of impact did it have on the band?
Well, as of touring in the 80s and really developing our stronghold in the touring industry and the metal and the hard rock, we were growing as musicians, and years go by and you grow older and you change and things happen. But the 90s, early 90s, as you said, were very good for us. We managed to collide with popular taste in that era and managed to get on MTV when MTV was playing rock videos, and we really kind of hit a home run there, and we were on the radio, which was blowing our minds, and it was kind of, almost too much for us, in that sense, and it just kept growing and growing, and it's each little project that we did, whether it was a video or an album or a tour, just kept, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and, and it's, for some guys, from Seattle, it was pretty strange, we had to adapt really fast. But it takes its toll mentally and physically on people. And yeah, I mean, we change. I mean, it's like musicality. I mean, some choose to get really melodic and just all about songwriting. Some it's like playing. Some it's about vibes. Sometimes it's about rhythm, And everybody starts exploring their creative juices, and which is, it's normal and healthy and fun to do, So, but that's kind of where we were at there. I mean, we were at the precipice. We kind of hit the apex of the top of our popularity, and then we didn't really know what was next.
Right. So let's jump to the recent past. 2 years ago, you guys split with Jeff Tate and replaced him with Todd. What does Todd bring to the band now, and how is it working with him?
Well, the advent of getting Todd in the band has really changed the dynamic creatively, and is kind of a cohesive friendship in the band now, that we're all kind of on the same wavelength. And he's different in the aspect that he's a real musician. He plays drums really well. He plays guitar really well, and he sings, and he can play a little bit of keyboards. So in the communication area, it's, as musicians communicating to musicians, it's that much stronger in that sense of the communication in the band. So just in that right there, that's just miles of greatness that we've achieved doing that. And it's brought everybody closer together and communicating. And like I said, just a cohesive link for everybody to create their ideas and throw them into the pool as far as communication and being on the same wavelength, So it's really changed the whole inner writing dynamic of the band.
How did you guys meet him initially? From what I understand, you and him were going to do an album before all the Queensryche drama went down?
Todd and I met down at the NAMM convention down in Anaheim, and we ran into each other literally, believe it was at a Seymour Duncan pickup little cocktail party. And he thought I was Eric Peterson. I go, no, dude, I'm the dude from Queensryche. So anyway, we sat down and we just started talking, and then, he was really a cool guy, and he was with his friend, and we just started exchanging phone and emails. And I said I was doing some stuff for TV. I was looking for a drummer, and he was really talking about drums and really nothing about vocals. So, and that was kind of it, we just exchanged stuff, and then I sent him a couple tunes, and he put drums to it, and then he put some vocals to it, and I go, wow. He goes, yeah, man, I was in Crimson Glory. And I went, whoa, okay.
So initially meeting him, you had no clue even about that then, eh?
No. I mean, it was, because I remember them from, the 80s, and I remember the whole thing. And, but, he took the reins of that position. And so, had to do my research on it, but it was, wow. So, I mean, so we were going to do some little snippets of songs that would go on a disc that goes for like television commercials and in the background stuff on sports channels and that stuff.
Right.
So that's what we were going to do.
So now you have a new record out with Soulbender coming out at the end of September. How did this band initially come together?
Soulbenders was kind of a jam band, from the Northwest, and Vancouver, Canada. Just some of my buddies, really. And we'd all convene down in Seattle and hang out. And, eventually we all had some time to explore and maybe jam and write some music. And that's kind of what it was. We had a bunch of songs and no name, and Soulbender came to me, and then Nick Pollock from My Sister's Machine, he's a great artist as well, and came up with this logo that just blew my mind. And so we just went with it, and we recorded it at Triad Studios, where Queensryche recorded the first EP back in 1982. And I think we were one of the last bands actually to record in Triad Studios before it turned into Nintendo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, we did that. And then 2004 was kind of a weird time in music and everything. So we just decided to independently release it. And, marketing and promotion was not really available other than word of mouth and the internet. So we did that, and it just, and then a string of shows, and then, things happened with everybody. I got super busy, and, so we had to just kind of put it on the shelf. But fast forward 10 years, I hooked up with Joe O'Brien at Rat Pack Records, and he kept needling me and saying, hey, man, you got to let me release that Soulbender CD. And I go, oh, it's already done its thing. And he goes, no, let me do it. And I go, okay. Well, and then he came up with the idea of doing an extra song. And I go, well, we've got some other songs that we didn't put on the CD. So I was on the road with Queensryche, and then I called Nick and Dave Groves. And I said, we have this independent record label. They want to re-release it and put 3 or 4 songs on a CD. What do you think? And they were going, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. So while I was on the road, these guys all met at a studio in Blaine, Washington. It's called Black Horse Studios, and recorded all the drums and the bass and the guitars. We got Marty Van Keith, who was on the original Soulbender, to come down and do his bass parts. And so they got all the basic tracks recorded while I was on the road with Queensryche. And then when I came home for a break, Nick and I just kind of finished up all the parts, did some leads, and we just put it together and got it mixed, and then sent it off to Joe. And now Joe's got it. He's mastering it, and September 30th, supposedly it's going to be available.
So obviously you have the new Soulbender album coming out. I've heard Queensryche's writing another record right now. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on with Queensryche right now, but in between spots of touring here and there, we're really nailing a good amount of songs and getting them ready to record. So, actually, as we speak now, I mean, as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm probably going to get back in the studio here and get writing again. So we're really pounding out the songs. We want a whole, arsenal of tunes to pick from, and, have lots of extra bonus tracks. So we're really busy, and we hope to have it all written, by the end of this month, and then just get the whole process started and figure out a studio and the record company. You got to get them involved. You got to get the management involved, and got to get everything involved. Get a plan going.
Will Jimbo be back producing it again?
That's the whole thing. It's like starting the whole thing up again, and we got to see who's available, who's got time. So that's all got to be managed and orchestrated right. And it's all timing, these days, because everybody's got things going on. It's like you got to find the pocket of time in a month. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's a lot of work, to get it all together. So we're hoping, it'll be delivered by the end of the year, and then maybe be available early spring, late spring of 2015. And then along with that, another huge world tour.
Speaking of touring, do you think there's any chance we'll get a live album in the near future with Todd singing on it?
Good question. I mean, we have multiple shows videotaped and recorded, and it's just a lot of information on hard drives right now. And it's just a matter of working with the record company and figuring out when is the right time to start putting these things together and release them, because we really need to let people see and hear Todd singing Queensryche. And we've got some great footage. I mean, we've got the first live show we ever did with Todd as Queensryche, videotaped and recorded. And it's just a matter of getting it edited and putting it all together. So yeah, we have lots of information that needs to be organized and put together.
One thing I've wondered, just before we wrap this up, I know you're still good friends with Garmo. Does he do much songwriting anymore? Like, is he really active in music, or?
Well, you know, his day job now, he's a pilot. We hang out a lot, and we're good friends. We're high school buddies, you know, so the whole QR thing is in the past with us, and we're just friends. But I know he's still writing songs. I know he does that, and you know, that's his passion. So yeah, he's very much still writing music. I don't know where it's gonna go or who's playing it or what, but yeah, he's still very busy in that musical songwriting arena.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Michael, I know you've got to run, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. And I just want to tell you, as a fellow guitar player, you've been a huge influence on me over the years. So I just want to say thanks for the 30 years of music and riffs.
Oh, that's great. You're truly welcome. Thank you for the support for everything, and keeping the metal and the hard rock alive, and giving all the fans and the kids and everything what they want, and so they can go out and support the whole scene, man. That's really important.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, eh?
Very good. See you later.
All right. Take it easy, eh?
Bye.
All right. Bye.